will fulfill. His instructions he will fulfill. That is why it is so dangerous what is going on among the Christian church. And what I hear going on all the time is the accuser of the brethren, working behind the scenes. One brother accusing another brother, not having firsthand information, but sowing seeds of hatred and discontent, trying to destroy other people's lives so that they themselves are exalted. What's going to happen is the same thing that happened to Haman. Now, these things are very important because now at the Feast of Purim, each year, how do we celebrate this? How do we remember this? Like at Hanukkah, we light lights. Every day for 8 days we light lights, and it reminds us that Shamash, which is the light that lights every other one of those lights, that is the Messiah. He lights every light that comes into the world. And we see that 8 days we light those eight candles in the window, using the Shamash, that ninth candle, and it is looking back at that miracle that has happened, but we also recognize that the Messiah is the light of the world. And so each year Hanukkah is just a treasured time for that 8 days because the light grows brighter each day. And on the last day, that is the day that the angel Gabriel came to Miriam and announced that she would bear the light of the world, the Messiah. And that is the day that she conceived, and exactly 280 days later to the very day, and we've worked it out according to the astronomical detail of the sighting of the new moon down to hundreds of percent of illumination, and we know that exactly 280 days that year is Tishri 15, the Feast of Tabernacles, when the Word is made flesh and tabernacled among us. All of these things with the intermediate and final fulfillments is just a beautiful picture. Now when we come to Haman, what do we do at each Purim? We write Haman's name on the bottom of our shoes. And when we get together and read the scroll of Hadassah, of Esther, every time we come to Haman's name, what do? We stomp our feet, we scuff our feet, we stomp Haman's name into the ground, we boo, we hiss, we rattle our noisemakers. It is a celebration overcoming Haman and blotting his name out. And how it would be done in the understanding here in the Western world is like writing, the title Antichrist, because that's a title, it's not a name, but writing Antichrist, writing Haman on the bottom of our shoe and booing, hissing, and realizing that if we take our stand, that God is going to deliver us. No matter what happens in this world, He is going to deliver us. Now, in the book of Daniel, it speaks of, in the 8th chapter, the 2,300 evenings and mornings of Daniel 8. The 1,290 days of Daniel 12. The 1,260 days of Daniel 7, Daniel 12, and Revelation 12. The 1,335 days of Daniel 12. What all seem to be indecipherable mathematical calculations to the Western Gentile mind are in fact precise fulfillments of each one of the feasts of the Lord. And they are fulfillments that will go down to the very day, the very hour, the exact moment, in every detail, including the Feast of Hanukkah, which has a shadow of Antiochus Epiphanes as the Antichrist, and Purim, which is a picture of Haman as the Antichrist. Now we know that Daniel had all of the information that we now have in his book, and with all the calculations that he had, all the numbers that he had, that what he set about to do was to decipher these things and to determine what the fulfillment of these things would be. And as the book of Daniel indicates, that Daniel was working on these things day and night. Now, and he is a responsible man. He is the president of Babylon underneath Darius the Mede at this particular time. Now Daniel, who's been given all this revelation, is working day and night. For 2 weeks he is poring over all these calculations. And then finally he's making himself sick. He's becoming physically ill because he can't work it out. Now he's in charge of all the Chaldean astronomers for 60 years. He is the wisest man in the entire empire, and he's one of the wealthiest in the entire empire. He's been given direct revelation by the angel Gabriel in so many instances, and now he is working himself into a frenzy and getting ill because he can't figure these things out. And so then God sends the angel Gabriel down to him, and the angel said, Daniel, get a life. You are not going to understand these things. They are sealed up until the time of the end. You are going to be dead and in the grave before these things transpire. Now just let it go. And he finally let it go. Why could Daniel not know these things? Because the Feast of Purim and the Feast of Hanukkah had not even been put in place at that time. And the Messiah had not interpreted these things and given the prophetic significance to them until we come to the Gospels. We see that he speaks in Matthew 24 concerning the abomination of desolation spoken by the prophet Daniel. It is at that time, it is at the time of Purim that he is speaking these things, exposing the Antichrist, the one who is the desolator, who causes the abomination that makes desolate, and he's speaking about that at the time of Purim. We see that he goes up to the Feast of Hanukkah, and he says that I am the light of the world. And he is the one that is going to overcome the beast, the false prophet, Satan, Antichrist. He is the one that is going to light the world again, and it is the 8th day, the new beginning, in which we see these things take place. So tonight we're going to see how these things fit together in God's reckoning of time in the fulfillment of Bible prophecy. And to now, at the end of these days, Daniel said, well, he wrote because the angel told him that these things are sealed up into the last days. Knowledge will increase. Men will run to and fro about the earth, and knowledge has increased, not just for the unbelievers, it has increased for us as well. The ability that we have now, in fact, what we're looking at on our screens is run on a computer that has more computing power than what NASA used to put a man on the moon. And what we could not run on a Cray supercomputer 15 years ago, we can sit on the back of a Greyhound bus with a laptop and compute down to thousandths of % of illumination the moon and what it looked like from Jerusalem on April 17th of 454 BC at 8:05 p.m. in the evening, with such accuracy that it couldn't even be imagined a couple of generations ago. But this is what is available to us today. So when I detail some of these things concerning the calendar and the number of days between things, it took us years of working on these things to be able to produce that data in which we know how long individual months are going to be, how long individual years are going to be to our best calculations according to our astronomical and agricultural expectations. But yet God's reckoning of time does not allow anyone to know the day and the hour of the fulfillment of these things. We can only know the times and the seasons. And if we're ignorant of God's reckoning of time and we don't know the seasons or the Moedim, then we are just like the rest of the world, in which they will be crying out for peace and safety, but sudden destruction will come upon them in the day of the Lord, because the day or the millennium of the Lord will come upon them and they will have no idea. It'll be like the days of Noah, in which they were marrying and giving in marriage and everything looked like it was just going on fine, and then all of a sudden when the hammer dropped, it was too late, because they had not made any preparation. Those of the world hadn't made preparation, but Noah had made preparation. And his heart was right. He kept the commandments of God, and he found grace in the eyes of the Lord. Grace is not a license to sin, as we saw, but grace is the empowerment to live a holy and a righteous and a godly life in the midst of a dark and a sick and a perverse world.